Hi guys, so we are talking about Module 1 Standard 2, which is I can find the common difference or common ratio of a sequence. So to start off, we're going to go over arithmetic, which is when we add or subtract the same number every time, and the number that we're adding or subtracting is called the common difference. So another way to describe common difference is just the pattern. So if I have 10, 20, 30, 40, I have to figure out what am I adding or subtracting each time. So here I can see that I am adding 10 every time. And just to be sure, to check it out, if I start with 10 and I add 10, I get 20, which is my next term. Then if I have 20 and I add another 10, I get 30. Which is my next term. If I have 30 and I add 10, I end up with 40, which is my next term. So every time I add 10, I keep getting my next term, which means my common difference D is equal to 10, because that's the number that I'm adding. For my next sequence, I have 9, 4, -1, -6. What do you think the common difference is? So for this one to go from 9 to 4, I have to subtract 5. Then to get -1, I subtract 5. And to get -6, I subtract 5. And then just to double check everything, right, I have 9 minus 5 will give me 4. Then 4 minus 5 will give me -1. And then -1 minus 5 will give me -6. So every single time I am subtracting 5, my common difference is -5. For my sequence -20, -15, -10, -5, what do you think the common difference is? So to go from -20 to -15, I am actually adding 5. It looks like the numbers are going down, but because it's getting less negative, the numbers are actually increasing. Then to go from -15 to -10, I'm going to add another 5. And then to get -5, I add another 5. And then just to double check everything, if I have -20 and I add 5, I get -15. If I have -15 and I add 5, I get -10. And then if I have -10 plus 5, I get -5, which means that my common difference D is equal to +5. Or it would just be 5, but I made a mistake. Okay, for my sequence 8, 11, 14, 17, what do you think the common difference is? So for this one, to go from 8 to 11, I have to add 3. Then to get to 14, I add 3. And then to get to 17, I add 3. So if I start with 8 and I add 3, I get 11. If I have 11 and I add 3, I get 14. And then if I have 14 and I add 3, I get 17. So it keeps giving me that next term, which means that my common difference D is equal to 3. And the reason why I keep checking this way, because remember, sometimes it might look like it's adding the same, and then the last one might add a different number. So you want to check that all of them are the same, and that you keep getting that next term. Okay, for my sequence 25, 21, 17, 13, what is my common difference? So to go from 25 to 21, I subtract 4. 21 to 17, I subtract 4. And then 17 to 13, I subtract 4. And then just to double check, if I go 25 minus 4, I get 21. Then 21 minus 4, I get 17. And then 17 minus 4 equals 13, which means that my common difference, D, would be negative 4. And then my last one, if I have negative 3, negative 13, negative 23, negative 33, I can see it's getting more negative, so it's actually going to decrease. What do you think the common difference is? So for this one, it's going down by 10. So each time I am subtracting 10. So if I have negative 3 and I subtract 10, I end up with negative 13. If I have negative 13 minus 10, I end up with negative 23. Then negative 23 minus 10, and I get negative 33. So because I keep subtracting 10, and that gives me the next term, that means my common difference D is equal to negative 10. And you don't have to necessarily write all this out, but it would be good to do on a calculator just to double check that it is giving you the next term every single time. Okay, next we're going to talk about geometric, which is when we multiply or divide by the same number every time. And that number that we are multiplying by is called the common ratio. And remember, it's just a fancy way of saying pattern. But the common ratio works a little differently because now we're multiplying. So if my sequence is 3, 12, 48, 192, to figure out how to get my next term, I'm going to take 12, divide that by 3, and that gives me 4. And then I'm going to move to the next term. So I have 48, and when I divide that by the previous 12, I also get 4. And then if I do 192, divide by the previous, which is 48, I also get 4. So because I keep getting that same number 4, that's telling me that I'm multiplying by 4. And because I'm multiplying by 4, that means my common ratio R is going to equal 4. Okay, for my next one, if I have negative 5, negative 10, negative 20, negative 40, in order to find the next one, right, I go from the previous to the next, I'm going to take my negative 10 and divide it by negative 5, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive 2. Then I go to the next one, negative 20 divided by negative 10 would give me positive 2. Then negative 40 divided by negative 20 also gives me positive 2. So for this one, I keep multiplying by 2, which means that my common ratio R is equal to 2. For the sequence 8, negative 24, 72, negative 216, what do you think the common ratio is? So you can quickly type into a calculator, but what do you think the common ratio is? Now for this one, it's alternating. It's going positive to negative, which means we're multiplying by a negative number. So if I go negative 24 divided by 8, negative divided by positive would give me negative 3. Then I have 72 divided by negative 24. That would also give me negative 3. And then finally, if I have negative 216 divided by 72, that gives me negative 3. So for this one, I am multiplying by negative 3 each time, which is causing the sign to switch back and forth. So my common ratio here, R, is negative 3. For the sequence 2, 8, 32, 128, what do you think the common difference is? So for this one, to keep finding the next one, I would go 8 divided by 2, which gives me 4. Then I have 32 divided by 8, which would also give me 4. And then I have 128 divided by 32, which gives me 4. So because I keep coming up with the number 4, that's telling me that my pattern is multiplying by 4 every time, which means my common ratio R is equal to 4. For the sequence negative 500, negative 10, negative 20, negative 4, what do you think the common ratio is? So if you notice, it's actually going down. So for this one, to keep getting the next one, I would go negative 100 divided by negative 500. And if you put that into a calculator, you'll see that it equals 0.2. Then I go negative 20 divided by negative 100. Again, that's equal to 0.2. And then I have negative 4 divided by negative 20, and that's equal to 0.2. So in this case, each time I'm multiplying by 0.2 or 2/10. So my R, my common ratio, is 0.2. And then for my last one, I have 4, 40, 400, 4,000. What do you think the common ratio is? For this one, going up, I'm going to go 40 divided by 4. That's going to equal 10. Then if I do 400 divided by 40, that's equal to 10. And then if I do 4,000 divided by 400, that is also equal to 10, which means every single time I am multiplying by 10. So my common ratio, or R, is equal to 10. So very quickly you can just do this on a calculator just to double check that you're getting the same number. Or if you think you're multiplying by 10, you could go 4 times 10 is 40, times 10 is 400, and just check with the calculator that it keeps getting the next number.